of Movie Maniacs with your favorite hosts, Meghan and Merkle.
Today, we would like to discuss Marvel's latest B-movie 7.
I don't know about you, but I had very high expectations.
Me too, but as I think you'll agree, Meghan, that the soundtrack was a complete botch.
I couldn't pay attention to the plot or the characters because I was distracted by the horrible background music.
Today, we would like to bring in a few experts because we simply couldn't wrap our heads around the effect music had on the entire film.
More specifically, we wanted to examine the ways in which auditory processing can be used to enhance visual processing, and to compare and contrast the sound successful and unsuccessful films by looking through the lens of the soundtrack.
Wow, Meghan, those sound like two great goals for our learning.
First up, we have Dr. Nathaniel Neugenberger III, an expert in the history of film soundtracks, here to share a small passage from his latest book, Dr. Nathaniel Neugenberger III, an expert in the history of film soundtracks.
Wow, let's take a look!
Hello, I did not see you guys there. My name's Dr. Nathaniel Neugenberger III, and I'll be talking from my most recent masterpiece on cinematography and the soundtracks in films. So let me begin by telling the story of the history of film soundtracks. So, in cinema, there was a soundtrack well before spoken words. The silent film era between 1894 and 1929 introduced viewers to live, unsynchronized piano and orchestra music to fill the background noises and give the viewers a sense of immersion into the film. The pianists would often incorporate songs everyone was familiar with, and they experiment with different tempos and speeds to set the mood of an individual scene. After the silent film era, films with spoken dialogue, often called talkies, became much more popular, and the music began to be incorporated into the films themselves. The first film to incorporate a completely original soundtrack was for the film King Kong in 1933 by composer Max Steiner. Steiner's work sparked a change in directors having the ability to entirely paint scenes for the viewers. Then in the 1950s and 60s, theme songs became more popular as an easy way to create memorable impressions on audience members. Eventually, we ended up with commonly occurring film soundtracks we see today called compilation scores. These scores feature a mix of popular songs from well-known artists licensed to be in the films. Scores will then be entirely created specifically for the film by talented film composers such as Hans Zimmer or John Williams, or incorporated into film popular music into the compilation soundtracks.
Thank you, Professor Neugenberger.
Anytime. I can also continue with the history.
I think we're good for today. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Dr. Neugenberger III.
It's no secret that the soundtrack decides whether a movie is a box office hit or miss. I know I've walked out of a movie unable to focus on anything but the awful soundtrack.
Haven't we all, Merkle? Why don't we take a look at comparing some similar movies with drastically different soundtracks?
Oh, that's a dandy idea, Meghan. First, let's take a look at Rocky IV, a movie known for the steep declination of the Rocky series. The corny tunes tried far too hard to be inspirational without having the soul and heart of the previous Rocky hits. And the featuring of the over-top cheesy pop music was too much even for the mid-80s. The only exception was the featuring of Eye of the Tiger. And as we all know, one good song does not make a movie soundtrack. Especially in comparison to the classic tunes the first three movies, Rocky IV ended the franchise on a sour note.
Definitely. Now let's take a look at the film The Room. The film is known for being notoriously awful, but the terrible soundtrack puts the rotten cherry on top of the garbage ice cream sundae. You have melodramatic music that sounds like it came from a cable TV show. It's honestly the kind of music that made the theme in Wii Sports sound like Queen.
We actually conducted our own survey here on Foothill Campus to gauge an understanding of the role that film music plays on both the film and music industries.
We selected two songs, both from the year 1995. The first being You've Got a Friend in Me by Randy Newman, but most notoriously known from the film Toy Story. Our second song is Fantasy by Mariah Carey.
In the first case, we have a song from a relatively lesser-known artist, but placed in an iconic film. In the other, we have a much more recognizable artist, Mariah Carey, the Queen, but placed with a song that one would only hear on the pop charts within the music industry.
And we would like to look at the comparison between the source of exposure, a film versus the radio, and society's overall awareness of the track. So, let's view the survey results.
You've got a friend in me. You've got a
Number one.
Toy Story. Come on, guys.
Alright.
Do you know who the artist is?
I
Song?
think I've heard of the artist, but I can't recall it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Toy Story.
Have you heard of the artist?
If you said his name, I'd recognize it, but I can't remember it at the top of my head.
Yeah, of course. So you got a friend in me, Toy Story, where it's from. I don't know who sings it though. Sounds familiar. But I don't know it. I can't.
Mariah Carey.
Ooh, nice.
Mhm.
Okay, do you know the name of the song?
Iris.
Have you heard the song before?
Yeah, I've heard the song before, but I don't know what movie it's from.
And we're back. As you can see, while most individuals were much more familiar with Mariah Carey's name, they were able to recognize the track from Toy Story almost instantly, whereas, granted they knew the song at all, fantasy took some thinking.
Now, another aspect of film music, which we find very intriguing, lies in its ability to set the tone and control an audience's feeling, even beyond that of the actors. So, we're going to bring in another expert to fill us in.
Please welcome Dr. Thomas Tiddlywinkle, a psychologist specialized in the emotional impact of music.
Hello, I'm Dr. Thomas T.
I am sitting in front of my favorite flick, a big bowl of popcorn in my lap, laughing like there is no tomorrow. All of a sudden, I feel tears welling up in my eyes. Why does this happen? Is this shift due to some weird soundtrack voodoo magic?
Well, music definitely serves as a controlling method, equally important as the visual presentation of the film. Music and auditory stimuli in general are directly involved in triggering many parts of the brain. For example, in a study conducted by Meghan University, they found that the regions of the brain that light up with music are those linked to euphoric stimuli such as food, sex, and drugs. Even more, through the brain, music has an impact on blood flow, the phenomenon that leaves the audience with goosebumps and other physical reactions.
How about films of different genres? How can music be used to differentiate a horror film from a romance?
Oh, in horror films, for example, low-frequency sounds or extreme bass can be used to induce anxiety, to increase panic. Filmmakers can apply what I call non-linear alarm sounds, which can occur when the sound system pushes its limit and the sounds begin to break down. These sounds actually mimic those used by species in the wild to warn those around them of predators.
Wow, I never would have thought about that. Are there any other ways that soundtracks can influence our perception of emotions without our awareness?
Absolutely! Not only do soundtracks create the emotional tone of a scene, but they can also provide the audience with a hint towards a character's personality and agenda throughout the film. This can help the film represent the mental activity of characters otherwise difficult to depict. Whether the appearing characters are men of decency or insane and villainous, the tempo, key, lyrics, etc. can cue in the audience even before the character opens their mouth.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, before we wrap things up, we put together a little skit to exemplify just how impactful this music can be to create the tone of a scene.
Oh, we took a scene of dialogue, intentionally vague, known as an open scene, that purposely doesn't give us the characters, relationships, settings, place, etc. We then overlaid it with different types of music to demonstrate just how impactful music can be on the actions of a scene. Let's take a look, Megan.
You don't believe that? No. What are we going to do? It's really big.
What's going on here?
What are you doing here?
Were you not expecting?
Can you believe that?
No.
What are we going to do?
Agree?
It's really big.
We can.
What's going on here?
What are you doing here?
Were you not expecting me?
I don't know about you, but the music in each of those clips definitely gave the dialogue a completely different meaning to me.
Oh my goodness, I thought so too, Megan. I guess there is no dispute that a coordinated, well put together soundtrack really is the key for a successful film.
Well, that's all the time we have today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to Movie Maniacs.
Join us next week where we look at Robert Hartwell's phenomenal analysis of movies in popular culture.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Merkle.
And if you're watching, we're talking.